All right, here are my trades for today. Had kind of an up and down day. Uh, had one or two decent setups, and then I had another one that I really liked that I missed, and then I had some not over trading, but more like lesser quality entries and exits that I'm okay with, but they just kind of wore me out. So here I'll just go through probably from the beginning, first trade till the end. HPQ. This one had news a few days ago, and I sort of liked the failed all-time high breakout on the daily here. Here's the daily, so you can see it was it broke out all-time high with the super high volume, then sold off, and then had sort of a continuation sell-off. So I was a bit more bearish on this, especially since we had this big gap here. So we have all time high, breaks out, but then fails, and then you continue to see selling. To me, it just looked like, even though it might be bullish long term, short term, I just feel like it looks like it's trying to fill this gap. So, and then when I went to the 15-minute, I really liked this trend line here. So here's the big move up in the pre-market. It pulled back quite a bit on that morning that it broke out, which would have given a pretty decent long. And then there was your long. And then ever since, you can see this trend line in the last 2 days um, that lined up pretty well with this $39. And then where it opened today, it opened around the pre-market low was like $38. So it was basically like a pop, and then it hit this 39, and then a fade. But I didn't trade it correctly. I wrote here I didn't believe in the trend line. I do like trend lines, but I think they need to align really well with a horizontal line for me to fully commit to it. So here was the opening, and you can see here it got up to that trend line. That trend line would have been somewhere around here generally. Um, and then it hits this 39 and then fails. So I looked at this as this was a good entry point with a stop above here, and I did that. I only risked a half an R um, because of how I wasn't super convicted in the trend line, but I did like the idea. And I only risked half an R, and then it started to work, and then it came back up, so I got out early. And then I hate these because you get out early and it pops up, and then it continues, and you tell yourself, well, I could have kept my stop up here. But the fact that it sort of broke down and even broke through VWAP and then came all the way back up, I think isn't the best sign. And so I do think it's okay with taking that loss. Um, and then made a new 1 minute low again. Felt like, okay, you know what? I think this is gonna work. So I'm gonna take another half R risk above here now, and I just couldn't hold it. It started coming back up. You could just tell it needed a good 20, 25 minutes to eventually fail. I just missed it by 1 minute, but it's okay because I do think that it was I just wasn't convicted in that trend line, and I'm okay with that. At least I know what the issue was, and I can work on that. But it did make a decent move down. I did feel like this 38 was my overall target. If you look at the trend line here, or the bottom, the support was 38. Had it broke through 38, then I feel like it would have been a really big um, maybe start of the gap fill. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. I think I would have gotten out of most of it here. Okay, let's move on. All right, so Tesla was my next trade. Of course, I just don't even know why I keep trading Tesla. It's just too expensive, and I'm I trade small size, and I'm just really trying to work on my quality setups, and I just think having to trade so small on Tesla sort of messes up my um, trying to be consistent with all my trades. So, but again, I just always seem to try it here and there. Uh, so let's go over the So here's the daily, big gap down after a sell down day. So you would expect a gap fill or some profit taking from these shorts. $1,000 obviously was a good level. So I sort of looked at that as that could be resistance if it gives a good, 1 minute setup. And we did have pretty good buying all the way up until 10:15. It came up here, it sort of failed. I got in super small and then just got out. It's sort of like I wanted it to work right away. And then I tried it again. It failed this $1,000 right in here. Got in short, wanted it to work right away. It didn't. I got out, and then it eventually did break. And I do think this would have been a better attempt, this retest, even though it would have had a little bit of a gap here to, the stop could have been maybe above like $1,001, but and it gave a decent sell off, and it looks like it's selling off in the pre-market, so that's good, or in the aftermarket. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna need to make a rule where I just don't trade Tesla anymore or what, but haven't been very successful with it, and I think part of that is just overall size too. I think even if it gives a good setup, I'm worried about the amount of shares, and that's just another variable I don't want to deal with. So we'll see. Okay, let's go to the next setup here. So target on the daily here, you can see that's kind of hard to see. Okay, so right here, target had some news, I think, and at least some volume here 2 days ago. So it sort of broke out and then gapped up and made an indecision day. All right, so and so we had this indecision day. I didn't necessarily think that this needed to keep breaking out. I mean, I don't think it was anything crazy news. So, and when I zoomed out, I really liked this resistance here. You could see here it was resistance, and then as it was selling off here, resistance, and then a really good resistance here. And then yesterday, day 2, it showed resistance at this 236. So even though it did sort of break out, if you can see here, this little range, I felt like this was another level that it needed to deal with. So what I did was I put in some orders today up near 236 for this sort of third day range resistance. And let's see. Yeah, so here's that 236 on the 1 minute, and basically it came all the way up to the penny, 235.96, and I had an order here to get in like a half an hour size at 236 for a short. I had a limit order up here, and it didn't fill me because I was at 236 even, and that was a little weird why I did that. I'm not sure why I put 236 even. I think normally I would do like 235.98 or 95 depending on the spread, and I'm pretty sure this had decent spread on it. So that's probably why I didn't even go all the way through. So that was a bummer. Had I gotten it, I probably would have wanted to add in because it was sort of a small fantasy order, and I would have the intention is to get me involved, get in at a really good area at the level, and then if it does respect that level and bounce away, now it's in my theory is going to be trending down. So where can I get in on a lower high, or where does it get under another level? And to me, I think the best next level would have been this one because it was previous high here and here, and then it broke through it. So maybe on this pullback here, or maybe even on this 3rd minute when it breaks down, I could have added in a little bit more, maybe with a separate stop up here, just something to sort of build into the position. And then my overall target for sure would have been the 230.50 area, which on the daily was that which was yesterday's low, and then that breakout high. So somewhere in there. and that would have been a great trade. That could have been that had been over goal trade, so that was a bummer. But I really do like what I was seeing there and how my limit order almost filled. I mean, I almost got it, and it would have been an amazing entry, super low risk, and I would have got a really big reward. So I'm going to keep doing that and putting those limit orders in at levels that I really like and really understand. I think that's some of my problem, and maybe problem with other traders, is that when we do find ourselves um, getting out early or not getting in full size, I think it's because we're just not convicted enough. Sort of like me on that HPQ, um, that HPQ trend line resistance trade. I just wasn't convicted in that trend line, and therefore I was, quick to get out. But on this target, I really liked 236 and really understood it and really was willing to risk around it. And so, um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to search for as many stacks as I can, whether in the pre-market or the night before, and find these levels that I really like. And then in the morning, if it seems like we could potentially set up and hit that level, even if it is a bit, extreme, I'm still going to go for those orders because I think they can still work. I mean, this was sort of crazy. It went up. I'm pretty sure this happened in a matter of seconds. Came up and then came back down. And this is almost a full dollar here move. So it just shows that, when you find a good level, price really does want to come all the way back to that level and bounce again before continuing. That's why we get good at finding these levels, because price wants to go there and either break or bounce from them. So then my next trade. All right, here's my next trade. Futu. I guess on the daily here, it's had some volume and sort of been reversing. But then that reversal sort of was short-lived, and now it's rolling over again. So I'm more short bias here. And we had a big day here, and then we've been just selling off. So we had 2 days here where 2 inside days with a clear agreement on a low, and then it gaps down. And I was looking for the retest in the short, sort of like the other trades. Here on the 15-minute, you can see 2 days ago, here's a double bottom right at that low, which I really like. And then Friday, you can really see that bottom was holding there too. So it was a really good level here, $36.40. The only thing was pre-market high didn't necessarily come up to it. So I sort of had two levels. I had that really good 35.40, and then I had this pre-market high here where it respected it 3 times, twice in the pre-market and then another time at the open. So I was looking to short it here, thinking I'd get a nice move down from here. Or, the next best, the very last level would have been this 34.540, and it would have came up here, and then I would have tried to short it here. And it just didn't work out, and I'll go over here what happened. This thing was definitely slower, not near as much volume as other stocks. That was a little tricky. Here was that high, so it came up here, made a new high, and then started to fail it, so I got in short, and I really liked it initially. You can see here it started to fail, new 5-minute low, came up, retested it, started to go lower, so I added in, sort of pushing my stop closer and closer, and I was closer to a full R risk here, or full R in terms of shares, and I really felt like it was working here. Then you had opening print here, which I knew would be a little bit of a problem, and then it just couldn't break that. And that was a bummer. So it came up and then stopped me out, I think, at a tiny loss, and then it came down. I got a little bit chasey. I tried it, and then this was crazy. I mean, it just squeezed up. This was a small risk, though, because I knew I was chasing it. And then I did try it one more time, and I felt like I was being patient. Came all the way up. I really liked the level. It had hit it and then failed, so I tried it one more time, and it didn't work. So just not a good, just didn't work. That's all. I'm okay with that. Uber was my best trade here, so let's go over that. Same thing. Had a bit of a reversal on the daily here. Started making some higher lows. made some nice ranges here, 3-day range, 6-day range, and then we gapped down underneath both of those ranges, and you can see here that it didn't want to come back. It's been selling off. So it's now back in a downtrend in my mind. And we had, but these previous 3 days made a nice level here at 3250 that I really liked of resistance. You look on the 15-minute. Here's what I was seeing here. Here's a low. That low also became resistance at the end of the day. And then yesterday or Friday, it was a clear high. So this was an awesome level. 3250, boom. That's almost a 10 out of 10 level for me. The only thing is like there was another pretty decent level right up here above it. So it was somewhere in this area. And you can see here, I put this box here. Last night I went over my stocks and I told myself anywhere in this area is going to see a short. And but yeah, this 3250 was a really good level. And I liked it. It worked. Just didn't quite get the full follow through. So here's the move. Nice strong move up. Hits that level, daily level, does a nice double top, fails it, comes back up and does a lower high. So I get in short right at the top of that shoulder. Stop was just above the daily level here. I didn't go all the way up here at high of day. Felt like this daily level, it didn't need to come up here because of this double top. And then it started going down, came up. I liked this sort of like squeeze and then the new fail. I really felt like the fact that it came up and then immediately made a new minute low and then another minute low just felt like this just really just squeezed everyone out and just going down. So I got in full size. So this was more of a half R and then this was full R. And then my new stop was, I don't know, somewhere around here. I think I had 2 stops. So I had one stop here and then a stop here, and combined it equaled 1R. So, man, I really felt like this was going to come down to at least the 3160 right here. Because you had 3160, you had the $half, 3150, and then you had the opening print. So I was for sure thinking this was going to come down and hit at least one of, some of this area. So I had a huge order to get out down here. This was 10%. This was 10%. And when price was right here, I think it was up 3R here. So that was kind of a bummer that this didn't end up continuing. And then I got out of both. I got out of all of it with these two here, and I ended up making 2R on it. So if had it come down here, I think I would have made over a 4R trade, but it just didn't continue. And I'm not really sure why, but I think it was a good level. And then I did try Twitter, smaller size. I really liked the double top right on top of that level that we've been talking about on Twitter recently, that 47, 46.90, somewhere in there. But I thought that this would have been a really good short here earlier in the morning. And then it came all the way back up, sort of hit that 46.90. And I felt like this would be a good potential entry with the trend line break, and we could get at least low of day, but just felt like it was just not continuing. So I got out. I made a tiny bit there. It wasn't break even. I made a little bit of green there, but nothing special. And then SQ, this was, I don't know, nothing terrible, but I just liked this Head and Shoulders. Felt like I think it was at R4, R3 or something. It had hit a R4 and then failed it. I don't know. It wasn't anything special. I don't think I should have taken this. SQ has been crazy, honestly. I never know what it's going to do. So I tried twice, small losses there. So overall, a decent day. Could have been done with that Uber trade had it continued. Oh crap. Actually, I had one more trade. AMD. So this one was kind of crazy. It was pretty weak all day. Had that big gap down on top of all the selling it's done. Big gap down, and it was still weak. But it ended up being pretty strong here after 12:30. It hit some kind of bid and really moved fast. And what I liked was it hit this previous high and failed it, but then came right back up and did like sort of a double top right at the opening price. So you had all these things combined. You had pre-market high, or pre-market low, excuse me, pre-market low, opening price, the high of the day here, and then a new high of the day for a double top right at the right at 98.50. So what I did was I got it super tight. You could just see all this volume, and then you see all this volume in this shooting star. So what I did was I did one of those old school Amen parabolic reversals, and I did a stop just above it here. So really, really tight entry, and it ended up working out really well. And I got most of it out right here. I took a big partial here. It's too bad I didn't take a big partial here. That'd have made my day too. But I ended up making 2R on this. It should have been way more, but I really had no idea it was going to go all the way down to 97.50. I thought maybe it stopped right here. I just wasn't sure. So that's all I got.